session. Okay. Thank you very much for joining our today's session, our graduate school of education, master and PhD programs. My name is Akirkia Ganva. I'm a senior manager for academic and student affairs here at GSE. And today you will be provided some information about our school, about our programs, about the application information by our faculty members and the program directors of each program. MSc program director is Rita Casa. So she will talk about MSc in Educational Leadership Program. If you have any questions about the program, you can ask her questions at the end of the session. Then we have our MA Program Director, our Assistant Professor, Dr. Michelle Bedeker. Then our PhD Program Director, Associate Professor, Dr. Anas Hajar. Let me start with the general information about our school. So first we will talk about our school, then you will be provided some information about MSc in Educational Leadership Program, then about the MA in Multilingual Education Program, PhD in Education Program, then I will give you brief information about our application process. After that, you can ask your questions. Overall, GSE has started its work in 2013. So now this year it's a 10-year anniversary of our school. Overall, right now, GSE has 31 faculty members from all around the world, and so you can see some numbers here for each of our programs. And but overall, we have graduated about 600 students. This is our alumni number. After graduating from our school, 70% of our students will be employed, and some of them have come to the school as an employed people. So, for instance, for MSc, this is the specifics of our MSc program, and the Dr. Rita Kasha will talk about it a bit later. And 28% of our students usually continue their education or on maternity leave. Where do our students or graduates work after our graduation from our school? So 23% of our graduates work for the higher educational institutions, about half of our graduates work for schools, then 24% of them work for educational organizations, and 3% are entrepreneurs, and only 2% work for non-educational organizations. Our graduates take leading roles at different structures, educational institutions. 14% of our alumni are higher educational institution and the school leadership are at higher educational and the school leadership positions, and half of them are professors, teachers, instructors, or tutors, and another half work as researchers and administrative staff. At GSE, we have 3 graduate programs. This is MSc in Educational Leadership Program, which focuses on 3 specializations, such as higher education, inclusive education, and the school education. Then we have our MA in Multilingual Education Program, and of course our PhD in Education Program. Overall, our students, when they study at the school, they have some help in terms of finance and housing. All students at GSE study free of charge. So monthly stipend for master students constitute 162,000 tenge. So the doctoral students get much a bit more. Also our PhD students they do have opportunities to work as GTAs or TAs during their studies, and they also receive some salary for their positions and the works. So stipends are paid for the duration of the studies. So master students are 2 years program. So during 2 years, our students take their stipends, and the PhD students take their stipends during 4 years. So our master's MA students and the PhD students are provided with dormitories during their studies, but MSc students not, because MSc students is a low residency program. That's why they do not study on campus every day. That's why they are not provided. But when they come to intensive sessions, we try to provide them some places in dormitories if there are some available places. So now I will give the floor to Dr. Rita Kasha. So she will tell about MSc in Educational Leadership Program. Rita, please.
Thank you, Akirke. As Akirke mentioned already, we have 3 specializations in MSc in Educational Leadership Program, which focuses on higher education, inclusive education, and school education. In this program, we look for students who may work or who may be at the moment unemployed or planning to work, but they should be employed and with experience in the sector of education, whether those are schools, universities, or organizations that engage with issues relevant to education. And also research experience is something that is appreciated among our potential applicants. The purpose of this program is to develop student capacities for research and leadership roles on issues of educational change. And these leadership roles can take place within specific institutions such as schools or universities, but they also can be leadership roles exercised in non-governmental organizations, international organizations, or public administration offices. And the program takes 2 years to complete. It is a low residency program that runs through fall, spring, and summer semesters. This year in the program, we have 155 master students, and this is the largest program at GSE. When I say low residency program, next slide, please, I would like to clarify that we combine intensive sessions on campus with distance learning for the purpose of allowing students who are not from Astana to still take part in this program. The content in the program that you acquire will be full-time student content. It's just that it is delivered in a mode that allows you not to be at school all the time. So when students come to Astana, to NU GSE, we study morning till night for shorter but intensive periods of time. The rest of time, students go back to their cities or to other rural areas if they are from rural areas, and they work in their schools and other organizations, and keep in touch with professors and do work that's related to studies in long distance mode. Next slide, please. So when students come to campus, the mode is as follows. These are 3 weeks in August, 2 weeks in October, half a week, 1.5 weeks in February, and 3 weeks in May. Now, year to year, this exact spread of weeks may change when exactly it takes place. For those students who are admitted, the schedules are available ahead of time, but this is an example of intensive on-campus sessions approach that we implement in MSc Educational Leadership Program. For year 2, the last intensive sessions will always be in April when students come to campus to present and submit their final master's thesis, which is the largest research assignment that students complete at GSE. And this is also the qualification assignment that students need to complete to graduate. Next slide, please. So courses in the MSc program consist of core and elective courses. And in each specialization in this program, students learn about educational governance and leadership. educational policy analysis and development, instruction and pedagogy, curriculum design and development, and evaluation and assessment. And all students in the program receive extensive training in conducting research on various topics in education in relation to the specialization they have chosen. So when students apply for a master's in educational leadership, they need to indicate whether they would like to apply for the specialization inclusive education, higher education, or school education. So it is typical that students who are interested in inclusive education will have some exposure, prior experience, engaging with issues of diversity. Higher education applicants will be likely with experience or substantial interest in higher education, and school education applicants will be generally interested in issues or have an experience working at schools. Next slide, please. So core courses, as I mentioned, with the focus on educational leadership and governance, are offered across 3 Masters of Science specializations. So these are generally 9 courses that we can count as core courses. They include educational leadership, management, fundamentals of education, which cover major theories that ground studies in higher education, inclusive education, and in school education. We also have a course contextualizing education reform in Kazakhstan and beyond that focuses on policy development and reforms. Then we have significant research methods or research component. And even though here I have listed 9 courses, when we talk about research methods, students take 3 courses in research methods and acquire very substantive training in designing research, conducting qualitative and quantitative as well as mixed methods studies. They apply this knowledge that they gain in research methods courses to develop their master's thesis research and to help students conduct master's thesis research. We have series of courses which we call master's thesis seminars that take place from late spring or summer semester at the end of year 1 all the way until the end of year 2. Essentially, year 2 in our master's program is focused on developing your original master's thesis research. Then we have always courses of academic English support, academic Kazakh, and we have international students who also can study Kazakh and also take a class on education in Kazakhstan for international students. If we go to elective courses, then here students in each specialization have a set of courses to choose from. In inclusive education, obviously courses are focused on inclusive education relevant questions, such as developing inclusive schools, inclusive curriculum and assessment, psychology of learning, gifted and talented learners, and there's a course that's offered across 3 specializations, which is economics and financial management in education. In school education, we also have focus on assessment, on psychology of learning, school improvement, teacher development, and student argumentation and discourse. In higher education, we have courses that focus on student experience, learning and success in higher education, globalization and international higher education policy analysis and development, and sociology of higher education. Next slide, please. And right, so that information on elective courses concluded my presentation on MSc. Please, if any questions, I'm happy to answer at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rita Kasha. Next floor will be given to our next faculty member, dear Michelle. Please, the floor is yours. You are muted.
Okay, I've just realized I am. Sorry. Thank you so much, Kirke. Good afternoon, all students, and welcome to this session. I'm going to speak about the Masters in Multilingual Education, which is a really small program, but it's I think it's a program where we tend to learn much and have much stresses, but also we tend to have much fun. I see Sabira, one of our previous students, she's here. I thought I saw Munira as one of our current students, but I'm not sure if she's still around. So welcome to everyone. For those of you who are interested in the multilingual education program, our focus is really on theories and policies related to multilingual education. So this is a really broad field because multilingual education is all about schooling, it's all about universities and education, but it focuses on what does this mean in terms of language and language pedagogies and language teaching and assessment. So once we move from theories and policies and practices, we kind of also focus on the development of teaching, curriculum and assessments within the domain of multilingual education. We also focus on policy analysis. We kind of look at different language policies across different contexts, not just Kazakhstan, but we look at what's happening in the global south, the global north, and what is Kazakhstan's take on the current decisions around multilingual or trilingual education. And then the final thing, which is really interesting, and we all enjoy this, is research skills in educational language policy and teaching. And this is where the students start thinking about, so what is the area? What are the kinds of things that they're thinking of researching? And what would be relevant for the Kazakhstani context, given all the research happening in the global north? In terms of our target students, we definitely looking for people that has been teachers, that could be teacher educators, teacher trainers, administrators, and also professionals that are interested in language and education. However, we have a couple of students this year that have kind of fresh graduates, but they've all been trained within either foreign language teaching or translation studies. The thing is, we want you, if you're really interested in issues related to language education, issues related to inequalities, if you want to come just to kind of have NU next to your name, we will find that out once we do the sit in the admissions committee. So we want you, if you're really interested and passionate about issues related to language and inequalities. And so what's the purpose of our program? The purpose of our program is really to develop your capacities for research, develop your capacity to give leadership in teaching, assessments, and multilingual pedagogies wherever you enter after your studies. And so we're kind of trying to prepare you for the increasingly multilingual education context, nationally and internationally. Even though Kazakhstan has always been a multilingual country, there are new issues that we need to think of. And these are the kinds of issues that we touch on in our courses. So unlike the MSc, with a distance education program, ours is a 2-year full residency. It's full time. So we kind of have our students on campus. And this is why I say we tend to have some fun now and then. So it means you'll be on campus. In most cases, if we have place, I think students are placed in the dorms, but that might also change, I'm not sure. So you'll be on campus seeing your professors and seeing all of us at least once a week. Next slide, thank you. So the courses in our program for year 1, the fall of 2023, you'll do a course called Foundations in Multilingual Education. And this is really to kind of making sure that everyone understands what is the current and latest issues within multilingual education. What was multilingual education before, and what are the new kinds of things that they are theorizing and practicing within the field of multilingual education. The second course, which Prof. Anas teaches, is Introduction to Linguistics. And I think there's also trying to set the foundation for students coming. For example, if you don't have a linguistic background, that kind of lays a good foundation for you in terms of what is linguistics and what's the connection with multilingual education. The third course that you will do is Educational Context and Reform in Kazakhstan. And normally I hear students saying, oh, it's really heavy, lots of reading, but the kind of assignments that they present for that course is just awesome. So that's a pretty great course. The fourth course will be research methods. So it could either be quantitative research or qualitative research. And then we have a course called Advanced English. We like to refer to it as academic English, right? That's for the fall of 2023. Then in spring 2024, you will do a course called the Multilingual Society. And now the courses are becoming kind of a little bit more practical. So Multilingual Society basically connects with both foundations in multilingual education as well as introduction to linguistics. Then you will also do your second research methods course. You can choose one elective based on which ones we have on offer. You will also do your fourth course, which is academic English. That will then also be followed by the Kazakh language course. Depending on your proficiency, there are 3 levels of those courses offered. Next slide, please, Dr. Thank you. So in year 2, summer of 2024, you're kind of making the transition from first year to becoming our second year or senior student. So what you do during summer is you develop your thesis or your research topic. So ideally for that course, you'll be working with your supervisors, but we have a joint summer task that we require you to complete as evidence for that course. Then in fall 2024, you will start with your thesis writing or thesis seminar 1. The second course will be multilingual curriculum and assessment. So again, here we draw on the foundations of multilingual education and we kind of make it really practical in this course. So what is a multilingual curriculum? What does it look like? And what chances are there of assessing multilingually? What does this mean? Does it mean assessing in all 3 languages? So what are the kinds of discussions will we have that we will have in that particular course? Then Prof. Manan's course on multilingual school really ties really well with multilingual curriculum and assessment. And we find that our students normally say these 2 courses go kind of hand in hand. And there's a lot of issues on, so how does a multilingual school function? But what are the kinds of pedagogies that teachers or educators in other contexts draw on to make sure that they see multilingualism as a resource rather than as a deficit? Then the fourth course will be your second elective. Again, the electives depend on staff availability and what we have on offer, and you continue with your academic English courses for the fall semester. Then for year 2 in spring, there you do a lot of thesis work already. You're already busy with your thesis, but then you would be busy with your thesis. Then the second course you do, there would be language and literacy development, and you'll see there's only 3 courses, or literally 1, which is language literacy and development. You'll basically be working on your thesis, for thesis writing 2, with a lot of support from the academic English team. But then finally in thesis writing 3, that's in summer, you will submit your final thesis and defend it. And then finally, you'll be submitting and be close to graduation. Next slide, okay. So these are some of the elective courses that we have. But again, it's really dependent on staff availability and what we have on offer in the multilingual education team. So what we have offered thus far was flow, and then multiliteracy is in teaching language and literacy for multilingual context. We also have language policy and education across reform. So these electives are somehow kind of more practice-based. It allows you to think about the theories and about the literature, and it also connects to some extent to the kinds of things you might want to do for your final thesis topic. So that's it from me. If there are any questions afterwards, please ask. So I hand over to Anas. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. So next, our program, the last program is PhD in education. Dr. Anas Hajar, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being interested in our programs at our school. And thank you so much to Dr. Zumrad for to organizing this session, and also to Akrike. So as regards the PhD program, this program takes 4 years, and it is full time, and it offers both coursework and research, and of course in terms of the goals of our program, it is similar to what my colleagues Dr. Michel and Dr. Rita described, in which our main goal is to help our students to become competent teachers and researchers. In addition to that, to help them to take on roles in government, leadership roles in government and international organizations. And of course, for PhD students, what about the strategies that we adopt in order to enable our students to become competent teachers and researchers? One of these strategies is that they can work as a teaching and research assistant by being involved directly. Some PhD students are involved in some projects run by faculty members, and of course they have as well an opportunity to have publications in international journals and be prominent scholars. Please, the next slide. So in terms of the stages of PhD program, as you can see, in the first 2 years, the students will have a range of core courses, and the main courses are focusing on the finance in higher education and educational and language policy and reform, and also research methodology. And I think these courses are very important. And Dr. Rita is an expert in this area. And in addition to that, of course, we give the students a lot of support in terms of their own academic writing, and we help them to provide them with many strategies in reference to academic writing, such as how they can avoid plagiarism, paraphrasing, summarizing, take notes, using references, how they can implement critical thinking in their own writing, and other support. In terms, can you please go back, please, Akrike, if you don't mind. In terms of the supervision, actually now each faculty member, each student, sorry, has two supervisors, main and co-advisor from our school, and there are some important stages that each student has to go through. And as you can see, number 2 and number 3 qualifying exam. So qualifying exam, just briefly, I can say that it is a take-home exam consisting of two analytical essays, and they are going to be marked by 2 faculty members. If the student fails in the first attempt, he or she will have another one. But unfortunately, if the student fails in the second attempt, he or she will be dismissed from our program. In terms of as well, and by the way, for the qualifying exam is going to take place in the second year, but for in the third year, or at the end of second year, because it differs from one student to another, they have to defend their own research proposal, 15 to 20,000 words, in addition to oral defense. And of course, at the end, the student has to submit 80,000 words thesis. Please, the next slide. As I just mentioned, we have only core courses, and you can see here. I just would like to comment on the one of these courses. It is about international study or study abroad course. So it is expected in the second year of PhD program. We are going to send our students to either to Cambridge or in the UK or UPenn in the United States for 6 weeks in order to meet prominent scholars there and to help them as well maybe to narrow down the focus of their own research topic, in addition to getting some skills in particular in research methodology. Please, the next slide.
Okay.
I think, okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you have the participants, if you have any questions about PhD, you can ask Dr. Anas Hajar after our presentation. Now I will give you brief information about the application for the PhD for the GSE programs. So as you can see on this slide, that these are the very general requirements that we demand for each applicants of each program. So you need first to create your application form on our news site. It's admissions.nu.kz. You need to provide your previous degrees certificate. Yeah, it can be your diploma. Then please provide your English proficiency certificate, IELTS or TOEFL, your personal essay or statement of purpose or motivational letter. Research proposal should be provided only for those applicants who are interested to apply for a PhD program, and letters of reference. So you need to provide 2 reference letters if you are applying for master's program, and 3 if you're applying for PhD program. These are very overall our documents that we require, but for each to see the specific documents for each program, please go to our site and search for the documents very carefully, and don't miss any important other important documents in the materials. So documents will be reviewed, and the shortlisted applicants are invited for an interview. So next one, so for our master's programs, you need to take overall 6.5, no subscore below 6.0. For PhD program, you need to take overall 7.0, no subscore below 6.0. For if your English language level is not so high and it's 5.5 and with subscore of 5.0 for each section, you can apply for our 0-year program. This is our pre-master's program. So after, please note that if you are applying for the 0-year program and if you are accepted for that program, you need to study on campus full-time for a year. And only after that, you will be assigned to your initial program that you were applying for, either it's MSc or MA program. If it's MSc, you will be studying in a low residency mode. If it's MA, you will be again studying full-time on campus. So this is our application deadline for masters and the PhD students who are international applicants. The deadline is February 28th, and for local applicants, the deadline is April 18th. You can submit your IELTS or TOEFL certificate with delay till May 3rd. So that's all from our side. If you have any questions, please, you can raise your hand or right here in the chat box. Okay, so the first question is from Ayalım Kalabek. What kind of information can you provide about 0-year program? I heard that first year is completely offline at university, and then other 2 years of MSc is low residency. Also, where can I get lead questions for motivational letter? So about a 0-year program, if usually admissions office they look at your IELTS results, and they recommend us, you, for instance, yeah, Ayalın Palabek, if you are applying for our MSc program, they will recommend us, you, to consider for NUZIP program. And after that, if your other, for instance, by other requirements, if you can meet our expectations, we invite you for the interview. If you pass the interview successfully, then you will be provided a grant for the new 0-year program. Yes, NUZIP program is completely offline, on-campus program. You will be studying for a year at the university. And if you are studying, if you are applying initially for the MSc in Educational Leadership program, of course, you will be studying based on the mode of this program, which is law residency. So you will have an opportunity to work and study at the same time. Can I get lead questions for motivational letter? I don't know what lead questions is, maybe leading questions. So
maybe I can help this.
Yes, please, Rita.
Yeah, so in your motivation letter, which the admissions committee will read, you need to demonstrate why are you potentially a successful candidate for the program. So in your motivational letter, you should be able to explain and show why are you applying for the certain specialization or program. In MSc, it's always a specialization. It will be either inclusive education, higher education, or school education. You need to demonstrate or describe what relevant previous experience you have. For example, in inclusive education specialization, we have successfully admitted students who have worked as teachers, but with interest in student learning, diversified instruction, and so on, in questions that try to address improving education for students with diverse learning needs, not necessarily only special educational needs. We have students who have worked in the past in international organizations and addressed questions of diversity and equity from human rights perspectives. We have students who have had personal experiences with working or being supporting people who have special needs. So when you are writing your motivational letter, you need to show the experience that you have that's relevant to the specialization in MSc program where you are applying to. And also in motivation letter, we would like to see for MSc program, what are the goals that you are looking to fulfill. And it's best if these motivation letters are genuine, based on your experience, because as Michelle mentioned, if you write in motivation letters something that later we find out in the interview is not true, if you are shortlisted for the interview, then your chances to be considered for admission to the program are lost, basically. So it's important to present authentic experience and try to really introduce the admissions committee with your experience, your motivation and aspirations authentically. So these are the leading questions I can present, and maybe my colleagues have something to add.
Maybe just I would like to add what Rita mentioned, because Rita referred to a very important point. It is very important, please, to present authentic information, true information, because, for example, if you say that I worked in a specific company for 1 year, so then it is a must to provide us with a document confirming the work experience. This is point number one, and point number two as well. It is important to to have your paper proofread, or it is a grammatical, and pay attention to the structure, because also we pay attention to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, would you like to add something? Muted.
Again, sorry. Yeah, I will add something. I think it's connected to what Rita said about being original and about being true, in terms of your personal statement. So I think for us in the MA admissions committee, we literally look at why are you saying you want to do multilingual education, and how are you connecting your previous experience, be it as a teacher, be it as a soon to be graduating student of foreign languages. What are you seeing in the field of language education or multilingualism that you want to connect to in your master's study? So for example, we had one student with a really brilliant letter, and then when she did the interview, she literally studied what she had to say. And so when then we pick up that this is a rehearsed version, and you're not really making connections with what we want to see. And then some other candidate just mentioned an example of listening to a dad and a child speaking, and how they switch between the two languages, Russian and Kazakh. And so that for us as a committee, giving us those kinds of practical examples was really useful, because we saw that the student was actually thinking deeply about the language issues. And this one candidate was really great, but in terms of rehearsing for the interview, she obviously did not make it. But she was really, I think she was proactive, because she asked us, so what did I do wrong? And we could then answer by saying, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It was really perfect. But we were looking for some practical ways of how you connected your undergraduate study with multilingual education. And then she could say, oh yeah, I could speak about code switching. I did my research paper on this, and I could have, and I could have, and I could have. So literally tend to think for multilingual education, what is the language issue, and what is the issue that really bothers you when it comes to these language issues? And think of that as real, and how you can bring that into your motivation letter. I think that is really useful for us as a committee when we read it. We're looking for that genuineness that Rita spoke about. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so there are some people who have raised their hands. Let's start with Yernor Muhammedov. Yernor, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to see you all. My question is for Professor Michelle. Do you accept the students who are fresh graduate and didn't have enough work, like in the state work? I have worked in the courses only.
Yeah, definitely we do, but you must remember that the competition is really tough. So we, in fact, with the previous cohort, I think we have at least 6 that were fresh graduates, but they really knew why they wanted to do what they wanted to do. They really connected their undergraduate study. So make sure that you know what the issues are for you. If you did a bachelor's degree, something related to language, think about what you want to do with this, not a bachelor's, a thesis, for example, on language-related issues, whether it's code switching, whether it's something to do with Russian or Kazakh as L1. Think about how what was the problem, or what was the findings in that particular paper for you, and how you see yourself taking this forward. Because as a fresh graduate, you're going to compete with more experienced people that will have the experience to help them and say, I'm interested in X, Y, Z, because when I was teaching, I saw this. So make sure that you make the cuts by linking whatever you've done right now with where you see yourself moving towards. And then we would love to have you on our program.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Is volunteer work is considered as a work experience?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
thanks. At UNICEF.
Well, absolutely, yes. You don't have to be employed in an organization, in a profession. Volunteering is certainly experience, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Yernor, thank you very much for your question. Aliya Sarsimbayeva, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have some questions for Dr. Anas Hajar because I'm applying for PhD program this year. I wonder if there are, or maybe if, where I can find maybe GSE requirements for research proposal, because I just browsed some universities and some of them are need applicants to find research supervisor, or maybe they have just a clear plan for writing research proposals. And are there any GSE requirements for research proposals for application here?
Okay, so then for the research proposal, you don't need to make it too long. So maybe 1,500 to 2,000. And it is very important to tell the reader about the significance of this research topic and to contextualize it. So for example, if you plan to conduct it in Kazakhstan, you need to give some background information about your research topic. And also it would be great if you as well if you show the reader about the theoretical framework or approach you plan to adopt in order to answer your research questions. And we pay particular attention to the methodology part, because because it is very important for us to accept the students who have some background information or some knowledge about methodology. So what can I say in a brief? That it would be very important when you want to write a research proposal to identify the research gap, and as well to show the reader that you have some knowledge about methodology. What about the research methods that you plan to use? For example, if you refer to semi-structured interviews, we are going to be happy to know that, to define it, to refer to some resources. It is the same. For example, if you want to say, I would like to use mixed methods approach, you need to justify it and to tell us why. So, and don't make it long. Maybe 1,500 to 2,000. Use maybe headings and as well. The language is important, by the way, both in motivation letter and as well in the research proposal.
Thank you very much. And one more question. Are any, for example, international publications desirable for successful PhD application?
Sorry, you mean international?
International publications, for example, if applicants.
And actually, we deal with all applications equally, because according to we deal with applications according to their own strength in terms of their own research proposal, their own score in IELTS, the work experience. And it would be amazing, by the way, for PhD students if they already have publications, in particular in the prestigious or good journals. This is yeah, a good point.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thank you, Alia, for your questions. So there are some questions in the chat box. To some of them we have responded. To some of them I will respond here. So is the interview in person or in personal, or so all if you are shortlisted successfully, you will be invited for the interviews and it will be conducted individually with you, offline or online. We will let you know. So, but for the last 2-3 years, it was online because of the COVID. If the applicant has earned his or her degree in the US and can she or not provide the language proficiency certificate? Yes, if your degree was gained in the English medium instruction institution, you can skip the IELTS or TOEFL, but it would be good if you can provide any certificate from your university that you've gained your degree in English language. So is the sum for GTA with the stipend included? I think is it the separate salary, or is it the part of the stipend, yeah, maybe that was the question. For your PhD program, you will get your own individual stipend, and for your GTA position, you will get your individual salary. These are two different things. So, how many students are okay? I've responded. I think that's all. Yeah. So there are no questions, and dear participants, please, Elvira.
Professor Hijab, Professor Michelle, professors, I'm glad to see you again. Professor, last year during my master program, I was looking for it mostly qualitative research method. I'm not that strong in quantitative research. Is it okay? And does it somehow will it affect somehow on my admission chances to be accepted? Because if I'm not that strong in qualitative research methods.
Yeah, hi Sapira. Yeah, yes, of course, and we are looking forward maybe to reading your application again. So I encourage you to apply again to our PhD program.
If I may answer about the research methods focus,
Yes.
we don't have any prerequisites for students who apply in terms of their knowledge in research methods. We are ready to work with people with diverse backgrounds, levels of proficiency in qualitative or quantitative research methods. Some of our students who come to PhD program have very little experience of empirical research. Some are already more proficient, and the way program is designed to get all students to the same level. So in the first semester, you would kind of have more basic training and information and conceptualization. But then when you move to the second semester, then you get to proceed and study qualitative and quantitative research methods on advanced levels. So please do not worry about your research methods proficiency, neither when you apply for PhD program nor for master's program. We don't require that our students have some additional prior training. We are prepared to work with students with diverse levels of proficiency in this field.
But of course, Sapira, if you want to write a good research proposal, you need to have a good, basic knowledge about research methodology, because one of the sections is about methodology. So you need to justify about the methodological approach that you adopt, and as well the methods.
Okay, thank you.
Basic knowledge is essential.
Okay, thank you.
When you want to judge a research proposal.
Yeah, I think it's about understanding what you're doing and why you say you want to do mixed method. So the committee you would say mixed method, and then they might be asking you, so why and what is it? What's variables? And then you can't answer those things. So then for them, it might mean that you're saying you're going to do a method, but you don't actually know that much. So it's important that you understand the design of your study, because you do have a master's degree. So you should be able to say, well, at this point, I'm thinking for a qualitative, and these are the reasons. It will be able to answer my question in this particular way. And then you develop and grow as you go along, especially if you know that you're more oriented at this point to qualitative research. It means you'll be able to answer questions much better. And then at a later stage, because I know you're leaning towards mixed methods. And so you're stressing about answering questions related to mixed method. So make sure that you understand why mixed method. What is it going to offer you in your proposal? And how is it going to help you to address the puzzle or the research question that you have? And if you can make connections with that, then I'm sure the committee will think you know why you're doing what you're doing, as opposed to, remember what Professor Rita spoke about, not being genuine or true, taking things and putting them together in your proposal. And be prepared that the committee will ask, and then if they ask, that you know why you're doing this particular method. I think that.
Okay, last question in our chat box. In terms of housing for PhD program, will it be possible to stay with the family, and how can we make sure whether we would be able to get a place to live? I think So the students PhD students who have their families, they will be considered separately. And I'm not sure if they are provided like if they are provided like place for the whole family. We need to check that question. So if you can, if you can write here your email, or I can leave here my email. You can email me this question, and I can confirm with the student housing about this on this term. Okay. So I will leave my email here in this chat box. So email me your question, and I will let you know the concrete answer. Okay. So far I don't know the answer. Thank you. So dear participants, do you still have any questions? No? Okay, if you don't have any questions, we can finalize our today's session. But if you have any questions later, you can always contact us. All our contact information are provided in our GSE website. So we will be looking forward to seeing all of you in our school. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.